Roll call: Kane, Markley, Walters, Philbrook,
Here.
Townsend,
Here.
McKiernan, Mugia,
Here.
Maddox, Walker.
Here. I'm Hal Walker, and in the absence of the mayor tonight, I'll be the presiding officer. This evening, the invocation has been given by Reverend Ken Netling of Faith Lutheran Church. Please stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Gather us by your Spirit, Lord, as we seek your guidance in our meeting for the good of our community. Protect all our first responders and bless their families, and surround our community with your perfect peace. We pray all of this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend. Ms. Cobbins, are there any revisions to the agenda tonight?
There are no revisions, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, that being the case, I would ask the clerk to read the statement governing the meeting, followed by the items on the planning and zoning consent agenda.
We would like to welcome all present to this meeting of the Unified Government Commission. Members of the commission are Mayor Mark Holland is unable to be here this evening, Commissioner Hal Walker at Large District 2 and Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioner Gail Townsend, District 1, Commissioner Brian McKiernan, District 2 is unable to be here, Commissioner Ann Mugia, District 3, Commissioner Terrence Maddox, District 4 is unable to be here, Commissioner Mike Kane, District 5, Commissioner Angela Markley, District 6 is unable to be here, Commissioner Jim Walters, District 7, and Commissioner Jane Philbrick, District 8. As each petition is called this evening, all persons for or against will be given the opportunity to express their views. If this is the first time that a particular petition has been before this commission, the commission has three options. Number one, it can approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission with 6 votes. Number two, it can override the Planning Commission's recommendation, but it would take 8 votes to override. And number three, it can return the matter to the Planning Commission for further consideration with a statement specifying the reasons for referral back to the Planning Commission. The consent agenda is the first part of the Planning and Zoning agenda. Items on the consent agenda have received a unanimous vote or recommendation by the Planning Commission. Unless there is a request to set aside an item from the consent agenda by the applicant, a member of the public, the Unified Government Commission, or staff, then the Planning Commission's recommendation on all the items on the consent agenda will be adopted by the Unified Government Commission at one time. I will read the list of agenda items on the consent agenda, and when I have completed the list, the Mayor Pro Tem will ask if there are any requests to set aside items from the consent agenda. This is your time to stand up and request that an item be set aside if you do not agree with the Planning Commission's recommendation. If an item is set aside, the matter will be discussed and voted upon separately. All items not set aside will be approved with the Planning Commission's recommendation. We appreciate the attendance of those people here this evening, and we recognize the importance of each petition. We would remind you that there are a number of items on the agenda, and we would appreciate your efforts to make your remarks as concise as possible. We ask that anyone with a cell phone to please turn them off or switch to non-audio so you will not disturb the meeting. Once the petitioner makes their presentation, anyone for or against will be allowed the maximum 5 minutes to state your views. As you come to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. The Mayor Pro Tem and Commission are required to disclose contacts with proponents or opponents on any items on the Planning and Zoning agenda. I will ask if there are any members of the Commission who wish to disclose any contact with proponents or opponents on any item on the agenda.
Yes, I've talked to both on, let's see, item number SP 2014-33, and yeah, that's it.
I will now read the items on the consent agenda. Changes on application item number 13070, Megan Carlisle, change of zone from RP3, Planned Townhouse District to CP0, Planned Non-Retail District for the continuation of a daycare center at 3112 South 51st Street, recommended for approval. Special use permit application item number 1, SP 2014-25, Michael W. Howley, renewal of a special use permit for the temporary use of land for an office trailer at 6721 Kansas Avenue, recommended for approval for 2 years. Item 2, SP 2014-29, Fernando M. Juarez, special use permit for farm animals, 3 horses, 1 pony, 5 goats, and 13 to 15 chickens at 8127 and 8149 Kansas Avenue, recommended for approval for 2 years. Item 3, SP 2014-30, Yvonne and Steve Ferguson, renewal of special use permit for the temporary use of land industrial purposes to park 2 trucks at 226 North 72nd Street, recommended for approval for 2 years. Item 4, SP 2014-33, Beverly Metcalf, special use permit for a substance use disorder treatment center at 1205 North 64th Terrace, recommended for denial. Item 5, SP 2014-35, Dr. Kelly Mather, renewal and expansion of a special use permit for modular classes at Eugene Ware School at 4820 Oakland Avenue, recommended for approval for 2 years. Those are all the items on the consent agenda.
All right, does any member of the commission want to? If an item is not set aside, all items on the planning and zoning consent agenda will be voted on by 1 vote to follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission. Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I would like to set aside item of change of zone application 3070. I just need to have a question. I have a question
All
to
right.
ask for clarification.
Item A1, change of zone application 3070 will be set aside. Are there any other set-asides?
Move for approval for all remaining items.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and second to approve the remaining items on the consent agenda as per the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission. If the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval, that means this vote will approve it. Recommended denial, that means it will also deny that application. Okay, Madam Clerk, please roll call.
Roll call, Kane,
Aye.
Walters, Philbrook,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Mugia,
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
The vote is 6-0, that motion carries.
All right, returning to item A1, Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you. As I read the report for tonight, the question that I had to do with a licensing status. It's my understanding that there are currently 23 children that were students of the Mama Boots preschool, and that the applicant will be taking over the school and intends to still have those same 23 students, and I guess some others. It says that the current owner, and I'm not sure if they're talking about Mama Boots or Exploring Minds, is not licensed for infants and toddlers. But then it goes on to say that the age range of these students, the 23 students, is from 2.5 to 5. Is my understanding from the Kansas Department of Health and Environment that does licensings for this type of thing, that they define toddlers as from ages 18 months to 3 years. So could you enlighten me on what's the status of the licenses?
Absolutely. So, my name is Megan Carlisle. So yes, a toddler is classified from 12 months to 30 months. So in a preschool ready for kindergarten. However, if a child is potty trained by 2.5 or 30 months, and they are considered a preschooler, so they do have Mama Boots, not us, not Exploring Minds. Mama Boots does have children of the age of over 2.5. However, they are not considered toddlers, they're considered preschoolers. So they are licensed for the children that they have there currently. Does that make sense?
Because of what the children's individual capability is.
Yes, because they are potty trained. So let's say you had a 3.5-year-old that wasn't potty trained, then they are not considered a preschooler, and they could not take care of them. They could not hold them under their license. They would have to have toddlers and infants under their licenses as well. But because they are potty trained and over the age of 30 months, they are preschoolers.
Okay, thank you. I was not against the zoning request, but I used to sit on the board of preschool and nursery school. So the definitions here, and I guess it was the way it was written, caught my eye. So I was not opposed to the request tonight, but just want to make sure we do not have any licensing issues here. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions regarding this application? Be willing to
Move for
accept?
approval.
Second.
What? If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to speak for this application, now would be your time. Is there anyone against this application? Would you please step forward and state your name and address? You have to speak into the microphone for the record.
Deborah Michelle, I'm at 3108 Brown Avenue, Kansas City, Kansas, and I would like to wait to the very end of this and object to all of them. Thank you.
Well, ma'am, just a minute. You're not going to be allowed to do that. Your opportunity to speak on the ones that have been approved is already come and gone. This is the only one you have an opportunity to speak on if you don't want to speak. All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion by the commission? Okay. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Roll call. Kane. Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Mugia.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
The vote is 6-0. That motion carries.
All right, we have now item A1 on the Planning and Zoning non-consent agenda. Madam Clerk, would you read that, please?
Special use permit application number 1 on non-consent agenda is SP 2013-32 for Beverly Metcalf. It's a special use permit for a substance use disorder treatment center at 6711 State Avenue, and that item has been recommended for approval for 2 years, a vote of 5-2.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this application for a special use permit? Yes, please state your name and address.
My name is Beverly Metcalf, and my address is 130 East 5th, Newton, Kansas, 67114. And tonight I would just like to say that we are in favor of the recommendations by the Planning and Zoning Commission and would appreciate your favorable consideration of our special use permit. Thank you. And I would stand for any questions if you have those.
Does any member of the commission have questions for the applicant? Commissioner Walters?
Hi. So you said we would like to see this. Who is we, and what brings you from Newton this morning or this
I
evening?
am Beverly Metcalf. I'm the president and CEO of Mirror Incorporated, which is the applicant making a request application for the special use permit. to open a residential treatment center at 6711 State Avenue, which is probably more familiarly known to many of you as Harbor Lights Salvation Army location, where they have, prior to this application by us, also held a special use permit and provided essentially the very same services at that location for a number of years. In fact, I believe since the building or construction of that particular facility at that location.
How many facilities do you operate?
Across Kansas, our company, a not-for-profit company, operates programs in 16 or 18 communities throughout the state of Kansas, and about 22 locations within those communities.
Any other questions by the commissioners? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application?
Sir, we have a number of people here in support of us tonight. I don't believe they particularly need to say anything, but if you would wish, they could show
You have a gentleman standing behind you. Please state your name and address, please.
I'm Merle Bland. I live at 8311 Garfield Avenue, Kansas City, Kansas 66112, and I'm here on behalf of Business West. On March 19th, the Board of Directors of Business West approved the following resolution. Business West recognized the need for quality counseling for those suffering from substance abuse in our trade territory that includes the State Avenue corridor. Business West supports Mirror Inc. agency to be that provider. Mirror Inc. has provided quality services to 2 Midtown locations in Kansas City, Kansas. Business West urges favorable consideration for the Mirror Inc. proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Bland.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Morris. I'm a Mears alumni, and I just came. I spoke last time just to share, but this is what I looked like in my addiction. And not many people would have given me the time of day, and would have thought that I, was a problem on society. That I was just kind of concerned that there were some comments on the board about whether or not we would be about the community around. And one of the things was the gentleman spoke about his business, and I think that the important thing to remember is this is actually going to be people in the community who are asking for help, who want help. Other ones who would be running, who would be causing problems, who would not want this kind of help, would be incarcerated. They wouldn't be in a program like this. This would be for actually people like me who had made a wrong choice, found themselves in their addiction, and really wanted a way out. And they teach you to deal with triggers, to deal with community, to where I live off of Quindaro, and I have no thoughts whatsoever, and I have so many tools today to work with staying sober. I'm sober 2 years. I just got my associates and have been one of 7 people accepted to the KU Bachelors of Social Welfare program. And I honestly believe that it was through this facility where I was able to do that and get the tools, because I didn't have a mom. No one gave me those tools. So although I was responsible for my choices, I think that it's really important to give them a place to be able to help this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All respect the community. People in Mirrors have taken time to come up, because in our community there isn't any treatment centers, facilities. I've been around for a minute, seen Drag closed, K-Mat, Saycheck, Keystone, and now we got an opportunity in our community for people who show concern. I think these people really need to be applauded for the effort they're willing to come and help people. I myself had an opportunity to work at Mears over on Hoyle. Guys that were coming out of the penitentiary, I had an opportunity to give them their UAs. Along with Mears and all the other entities that are working with people like Drug Court to clockwork. If we all come together, then people who have fallen stand a chance to get their lives back in order. Now, I know there is a saying, the struggles of men deal with the problems of the world. We can't keep ignoring the fact that you got people that have fallen. In order to get up, you gotta fall. So I applaud you for doing what you're doing. So you might want to keep in consideration. There is a need in our community for people who are willing to deny themselves to help other people. That's all I'd like to say.
Thank you very much.
My name is Jennifer Goss, and I have worked for Community Corrections across the street for 6 years. I'm a probation officer. All of my clients have to do with substance abuse disorders, whether it's diversion or through drug courts. It's been a while since we've had an inpatient service here in Wyandotte County. It's been a long while. So we have to send our clients to Topeka or Johnson County to get those services. I can't even really express to you how beneficial it would be to have an inpatient service here in Wyandotte County. In addition to, they would have a reintegration as well, where they would be staying at the location but going out in the community during the day to find jobs, things like that, other services in the community. The wait time to get someone into inpatient treatment right now is very long. So if you can imagine someone who is ready to take that step to start figuring out how do I manage my addiction and is ready to do that, they may have to wait 1, 2, or 3 months before they get that chance because the need for inpatient services and reintegration is so high. If we had that service here in Wyandotte County, we could reach so many more people because that's a long wait when you're deep in your addiction. Another point I would like to make is that if we had services available for inpatients, we have clients who unfortunately aren't able to manage their addiction and land themselves in jail, whether it's while they're on probation or before that. But we sometimes have to request that they stay in jail until we can get them an inpatient bed. So somebody may be in jail for 6, 8 weeks or longer waiting for an inpatient bed, and that's money that is being spent by the county. So I'd also like to point that out.
Thank you very much for your comments. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor?
Thank you. My name is Patrick Johnson. I live at 326 East 3rd Street, Newton, Kansas, and I was born and raised in Wyandotte County. I would like to say that when I was younger, I was put in a detention center in Wyandotte County, declared mentally ill. I was put in the state hospital for 9 years. I served 3 years in prison. And part of the reason I've been out 42 years from prison is because of some of the programs that I went through after I got out that were very beneficial for me. And I am very familiar with the MUIR Incorporated programs, the residential treatment centers throughout the state, and they are first-class facilities run by first-class people. And I also understand that when those kind of places want to enter into a neighborhood, it alarms the neighbors to having those type of people in their neighborhood. But it's better to have them in a place where they can be watched and monitored and have therapy and help than to have them running around in the neighborhood, committing crimes, and putting people's lives at danger. So I would ask that the City Council consider granting them their permit. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Kevin Large. I'm a 1981 graduate of the MUIR program. When I became familiar with the program, I was heading to prison. I didn't have a choice, but I was sentenced to treatment of 5 years in prison. They sent me to treatment in MUIR in Newton, Kansas. I've been sober ever since. I now am an employee after 15 years of sobriety. I went to work for Mir. I oversee all their facilities, their building, their maintenance program, and I know there was concern of the type of buildings we have, and I can just say we keep our buildings attractive, that we try to fit into the community, and we try to be good neighbors, and I just want to say I'm in support of this rezoning, and I thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in favor? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application?
My name is Marianne Flunder. I live at 1236 Grandview Boulevard. I have some questions, and that's, I'm not for or against, but I do want it to be very, very clear. Number one, when they were here before the zoning board, they announced that the Kansas City, Kansas police officers would help them to make sure that it was safe in that neighborhood where this church is. I need to know how many beds are going to be at the Salvation Army and how many beds are going to be at that church. The other part is we're not paying our police officers to go nowhere. Whatever the state patrol does not give us no money. Our money is from our different grants that we have out to the college, and that's what we pay the police officers. And if I catch them on 64 Terrace, they're going to be gone. So it needs to be very clear that they'll have their own security and they will be responsible.
Marianne, can I ask you a question? Okay, so earlier we did pass, well, actually we passed to say no, they couldn't have the one at the church. So that's out of it. So now we're down to the location, the second location.
So
Okay.
it will be at the Salvation Army, and that's fine.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
All right, that's
Okay.
fine.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition or speak in neutral?
I move we accept.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Is there any discussion by the commission? None appearing. Would you please call the roll?
Roll call, Kane. Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Mugia.
Aye.
Maddox.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
Thank you all. The next item on the agenda is an ordinance for North Point Development, IRBs. It's on the non-planning consent agenda. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of this item? No.
For
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and second. Please call the roll.
Roll call, Kane. Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Mugia.
Aye.
Maddox.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0. That motion carries.
There being no further items, I declare the meeting adjourned.